So, Steve here again. Right, I'm just going to give you a synopsis or outline on my first book, which is called Out of the Bottomless Pit. I'm going to come out with a Out of the Bottomless Pit 2 in the future. And what is this book about? Well, as it's like the title, Out of the Bottomless Pit, it is about the paranormal. But not just about the paranormal, about the supernatural. Here was my introduction to that book. Out of the Bottomless Pit may be very shocking to those who are totally new to these concepts. It might seem impossible, improbable, or even downright ridiculous. It could also severely rock your boat. But the only way to do the subject justice in a single sentence is to state, as others have already done, we live in a sort of matrix or simulation. Most of what we see, hear and feel is not necessarily the way things really are. Think of quantum physics and how atomic physicists tell us about certain small atomic particles such as quarks. We're told that by scientific observation, the particular quark can actually be in two places at the same time. And more strangely, quarks are noticed to only be there when observed. Another example of this, which is a bit similar, would be when you look at your computer screen. What you actually see is the projected residual image. What the screen should look like is something very different than just a visual image, which you perceive with the human eye. And so it is with the real world. So much is hidden behind the scenes of the visual, as to make this physical life merely a facade of the truly much greater reality of the spirit world, which both surrounds us and is within us. The kingdom of God is within you, Luke 17:21. That's what Jesus said. There's nothing inherently absolutely new about most of the subject matter of this book. In fact, most of this you can find on websites and books about each topic. But it's the way I'm going to link many different strange phenomena together that is very different, as well as many new conclusions that I will make, backing up my ideas, theories, conjecture with scriptures, as well as writings from non-canonical books such as the Book of Enoch, Jasher, Jubilees, and certain Jewish books such as the Torah, as well as yet other ancient writings. I suppose that my quest first started about 52 years ago, when I was about 10 years old. Back then I was absolutely fascinated by C.S. Lewis's The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. And when I read it, I didn't know at that time why I was fascinated by it. But there was something in that book that was much deeper than normal. And something caused me to read it again and again. Many years later, in around 1978-79, I was very impressed with yet another book by Charles Berlitz called The Bermuda Triangle, which was a bestseller at the time, read by 20 million readers. That was one of the most amazing books I'd ever read on this topic of the paranormal. In this particular case, the mysterious, strange happenings and disappearances of persons worldwide. That book had so many very interesting details, facts and figures. Took many readings in order to get all the information down pat. This book contains snippets of material from many writers from many different backgrounds, many fields, many of whom have given their express permission to include some excerpts of their materials. I've tried to include a web address to the full material whenever possible. I have, after presenting the many subjects, drawn many new conclusions, according to Bible scriptures. I myself have been an avid reader and researcher of both the Bible and the Apocryphal books during the past 40 years. Well, I should say now 50 years. As well as being a teacher of eschatology. This type of concentrated and very detailed book cannot be understood by just merely reading the cover or indeed flipping through and scanning and skimming. It will probably take quite a few readings to fully understand the connections between all the subject matter which are mentioned. I think each person needs to make up their own mind, and I thank each person for taking the time to read this book. And I encourage each reader to please do your own research and see if these incredible subject matters are indeed true to your own satisfaction. I'd also strongly suggest you look up the web notes as they come along. As often they can give a more complete picture on each given topic than merely the information given in this book. My hope is merely to arouse curiosity about these strange, mysterious matters, some of which I've personally experienced on different occasions, and some of these experiences are mentioned in this book. Yeah, I will get around to telling people, especially in my next book, Out the Bottomless Pit 2, about personal experiences with the paranormal, of which I've experienced many, both good and bad. It's very strange happenings, but I'll go more into that soon when I come out with my new book, Out the Bottomless Pit, number 2. Well, in this first book, which I wrote in 2014, I'm just going to mention some of the chapters in this book, just to give you an idea of what's in it. The first chapter is The Many Mysteries of Our Planet. The second chapter is all about the Bermuda Triangle. The third chapter is about the Hollow Earth theory. Fourth chapter is about Adolf Hitler and the Hollow Earth and UFOs. The fifth chapter was personal sightings of UFOs, of which I've had on 7 occasions. I've seen different UFOs, sometimes with my wife, even with some of my kids. Very odd experiences, I might say. Very different each time we've seen UFOs. There's no two experiences being the same. And the odd thing about UFOs is two people don't necessarily see a UFO exactly the same. Like my wife and I, we saw UFOs going across the sky, probably about 7 of them in formation in 2016, August 23rd. But we didn't see them exactly the same. That's the odd thing. Showing that they're not just physical, they're something spiritual. I won't go into the details of that now, but I will soon share a lot of experiences, like seeing UFOs, not just UFOs, but also seeing creatures, people that shouldn't be there, objects that shouldn't be there, sounds that shouldn't be there at the wrong time. Many odd things, and knowing things before they happen, seeing things before they happen, or being warned of things that are going to happen, premonitions. I know God has given us gifts, and I know I have quite a few of those spiritual gifts to see things before they happen, which is very useful. It's very useful when you're driving a car, if you know what's around the next corner when it's a blind corner. Often I'm told what's around the next corner when I'm driving a car, for example. I mean, I'm used to these spiritual connections, but for a lot of people, they're totally unfamiliar that there exists another communication system for warning human beings about many things. And I'm sure there are millions of people who have also experienced odd things, like, for example, knowing in advance that your relative just died. You sense it. How do you know it? How does a human being know things like that? And people who have had their relatives come and visit them when they died, or they sensed their presence, or smelt their perfume. Things like this. My daughter's experienced things like that with relatives that died. And I know in talking with many other people that it's common. It's just that most people don't talk about these strange things like death and people passing on and having contact with them, or them speaking directly to them. Not to mention, I found out in more recent times about, this is a beautiful one. This is one about when people are on their deathbed in the last 2 weeks, the doctors will tell you that many of them will tell the doctors they're being visited by their dead husband or their dead child or relatives. They come and visit them and talk with them and reassure them that don't be afraid to die. And things like this is now well documented, so I'll talk about that more in my new book, Out the Bottomless Pit 2. But here's some more of the topics I mentioned in my first book, to whet your appetite. These are essential things to know from book 1. Not just know about the UFOs and ghosts and strange things out of place and alien abductions. There's so many of these things. I've mentioned here also about the fallen angels, or the origin of a lot of the evil, and the giants also from pre-flood times. Then about the famous Admiral Byrd, most decorated admiral in the United States fleet, who went inside the earth and came to tell people that we have an inner earth. And then there are other chapters here. A hollow earth science says no. 11. The coming race from the center of the earth. 12. Hollow earth and holes at the poles. 12. 13. End time search for this realm. 14. Heaven and the heavenly city. 15. Alien abduction. 16. Trips to hell. 17. Dragons and dinosaurs. 18. The bottomless pit. 19. Sinkholes. 20. Are we on the verge of an ice age? 21. Technology advances exponentially. 22. Connection between alien abductions and the Bermuda Triangles. 23. Philadelphia experiment. 24. The Montauk Project. That's a time project. 25. The lie of evolution. 26. The alien question. 27. The Great Flood and Noah's time. 28. Advanced underground tunnels. 29. Predator serpent beings. 30. The Illuminati and the serpent races. 31. Demons according to Martin Luther and others. 32. Full disclosure and a UFO invasion. 33. The coming great deception. 34. The testimonies of the military about UFOs. 35. Signs of the times and prophecies. 36. Signs of the times and prophecies 2. 37. UFOs and the rise of the Antichrist. 38. Close encounters, spiritual vampires, UFOs, giants and robots. 39. Flying saucers and the War of the Worlds. 40. The Mark of the Beast. 41. Final nuclear war and other end-time events. 42. 4 blood moons and 2 solar eclipses. 43. Current events and big build-up for war. 44. The coming New World Order. 45. Life after death. 46. Connecting the dots, tying up loose ends. Well, that gives you a pretty good idea of what this detailed book is about. It's very fascinating. It still is. It's very interesting. It covers so many amazing things if you're not used to the supernatural and the paranormal, and you want to know more about it. And as I said recently, paranormal just means outside the normal. It's not what you would expect. It's, as I described at the beginning of the book, it's what you see is not necessarily how it really is. Well, that's enough said from me. Yes, I think that's enough said about my book. This book is, however, it's about 320 pages long, and I suggest people do get a hold of this book in the paperback form. You can get the paperback form in the UK from Amazon. You can't still get the paperback form in the US unless you order it from the UK, but you can get the Kindle form. I think you should know about some of these amazing things. It also has in the book about life after death, what it's going to be like, how it's been for many people and their description of it. There are lots of fascinating things from the spirit world that do connect with our physical realm that people need to be much more aware of, because they'll be a lot happier if they do. We're not just a physical being, just to run around and work hard all the time and that's all you do and make money. There's a lot more to existence than that. Besides, our existence carries on when we die into eternal life, of which the physical life is only just a taste. I believe in salvation through Jesus Christ. I believe in salvation through believing in Jesus. He that believeth on the Son has everlasting life. John 3:36. So that's what I believe. I believe there's life after this, and the life after this is much fuller, much more rewarding, minus all the negatives of this dimension, once God gets rid of the devil for once and puts him in the great lockup of the bottomless pit. Thus the title of this book, Out of the Bottomless Pit. It talks about Satan in the book of Revelation 20, and I saw a great angel come down from heaven, having a great chain in his hand, and he laid hold on the dragon, that monster called Satan and the devil, and set a seal upon him, and bound him up, and cast him into the bottomless pit. They should deceive the nations no more, until the 1,000 years are fulfilled. Then he should be loosed a little season. And then fire came down from heaven and devoured him. And Satan was cast into the lake of fire, where also the beast and the false prophet are. But those are verses about Satan and the bottomless pit and the end of Satan. So the end of the story is good. We might have to put up with a lot of evil in this world today, and a lot of horrors like you've seen in the last 3 years in particular. So many terrible things. But the good news is God's got a good plan. One day there won't be any evil. There won't be any hatred. There won't be any violence. There won't be any war. There'll be love and peace and understanding forever, and perfect harmony between peoples. I look forward to that world. See you there. Bye for now. Steve signing off.